The Indianapolis County Jail, Martin Cruz, convicted child molester, would be beaten, tortured, hogtied, drowned in a toilet filled with bleach. For over 50 minutes, inmates were jumping off the top of bunks, stomping on his face, before he was finally found dead hours later, hogtied, every rib in his body broken, face unrecognizable. Yet, as I give you guys this update, prior to this killing, it turns out he was beaten by two other inmates on two other occasions, just days before the murder. Let's get into it. Murder inside of the Marion County Jail, the strangulation, the hogtie, the drowning, the bleach. He was only in that unit for 3 hours. The attack took 50 minutes. Martin Cruz, the Chomo, who was beaten by at least 10 inmates inside the Marion County Jail for more than an hour, October of last year, when it was over, Cruz was dead. According to court documents, he had also been assaulted at least twice inside the Marion County Jail after other inmates learned he was a child molester. Entering the lion's den, as they call it. Cruz was incarcerated. Understand this piece of shit. He was put in a unit called the lion's den. Martin Cruz was there on 3 counts of child molestation, 1 count of child molesting, 2 counts of harmful materials to minors. He was placed into cell block 2T in September, and at the end of the month, ended up in quarantine for COVID-19 exposure, according to the Marion County Sheriff's Office. On October 7th, 2020, just days before Cruz's killing, another inmate in the cell block 2F was attacked. That inmate was also a Chomo, being held on molestation cases according to court documents. In that situation, guards were alerted when someone hit an emergency medical button in the block, and guards could hear screaming. When they responded, they found the inmate that was attacked bleeding from his head. There were bruises and swelling around his forehead, and the Chomo was missing several front teeth. He was able to tell guards 3 or 4 other inmates had attacked him, according to court documents. As you can see, the Chomos are having it hit after hit on them. That brings me to Riley, an 18-year-old who's doing a life sentence for murder. Jalen Ryle, who was only 18 years old when he allegedly shot and killed a 17-year-old Connor Turner inside Penn Station sub shop. Ryle claimed it was self-defense. He was placed in the Marion County Jail, and his trial was set for August 2021. Ryle first encountered the Chomo Martin Cruz while Ryle was being housed in the cell block 2T. Two were only together in the cell block for maybe about 2 weeks when Cruz was attacked. August 8th, 2020, Cruz approached a deputy and said he needed a doctor or a nurse. Cruz had severe bruises on his face and was bleeding from his left ear. As you can see, the victimizer becomes the victim. He's screaming and yelling for medical to help him. Why can't you handle an 18-year-old? You're able to do that to those little children. Yet, him running in fear and being the coward Chomo he is will ultimately be his worst mistake, as this is what sent him to the lion's den where he was brutally murdered. On October 10th, when Cruz was moved into a cell block 2F, as in standard procedure after previous attack in 2T, a witness told police it was Ryle who pointed Cruz out as an alleged child molester. In court documents, the witnesses also said Ryle bragged about the previous attack on Cruz. According to court documents, the beating that took Cruz's life, October 10th, was organized and carried out over the course of an hour or so, unchecked by guards. It began when the inmates returned to the bunk room after eating. Inmates used a torn sheet to wrap around their hands as they prepared to attack Cruz. They cover their hands with sheets, one, because they can squeeze something and hit you harder, but it also will stop if they hit teeth or scratches from getting on their hands, as they'll be checked if the murder happens or a violent incident happens, and they will be a suspect if they have open wounds on their fists. The group waited until another inmate was off the phone, and they launched their assault. Cruz was literally kicked off his bed, according to a witness. He called for help and then was pulled to the back of the cell by the bars. It was there that the inmates began kicking him and telling him to shut up. The witness told police Cruz was asking for help, and an inmate went and got a towel to try to gag him. The group is said to have told Cruz that if he didn't shut up, they were going to kill him. When another inmate tried to intervene, he was allegedly threatened with a beating as well. Inmates then shoved Cruz's head into a toilet and poured bleach on him. After that, the beating continued. A witness told police the inmates were jumping as high as they could and stomping on Cruz's head. When Cruz would try to crawl or move away, they would drag him right back. Witnesses said Cruz was even hogtied with a bedsheet. Inmates then pulled Cruz back into the middle of the room and held him as they stomped on his genitalia. and continued to punch and kick him. The witness then said the group started jumping on Cruz's head and then retrieved the Marion County cup inmates are given, and another inmate got a food tray to beat him with. Another witness told officers that Cruz was hit in the head and the back with the food tray. After an hour or so of the beating, a witness said one of the guards came through on his rounds and did not see Cruz lying in the middle of the floor. When the inmates finally rolled Cruz over, a witness said there was a bile-like fluid coming from his mouth. An inmate checked Cruz's pulse and said, "He's dead." Aftermath. The Chomo's body was discovered during a shift change by the guards around 10:15 p.m. In the probable cause affidavit, the guards tried to resuscitate the Chomo. They called 911. Cruz was taken to the hospital and pronounced dead at 11:24 p.m. The autopsy performed on Cruz on October 12, 2020 found 18 injuries to his head, including hemorrhaging, a dislocation of his neck. Cruz had 14 injuries to his torso and fractures to 10 of his ribs. He had lacerations to his liver, spleen, pancreas, and kidneys. There was bruising all over his body, and the coroner reported the death as a homicide. An internal investigation is pending. There were at least 24 inmates in the community-style cell block at the time. Many said they witnessed the attack but declined to talk to the police. Of course, what the fuck? That's what you call they're tired of these people hurting our children. That's what you call sending a message. They hit one Chomo up, they hit him up already, sent him to the lion's den where he was brutally tortured for over an hour, wasn't found for another hour, and was pronounced dead an hour later, with an officer walking the tier. 10 inmates beating him, choking him, stabbing him, gagging him, drowning him, everything possible, and the officer just missed it. That's what happens when you fuck with our kids. An update on all the inmates charged. First, Gamron Tedford. This is Gamron Tedford, Lasan Watkins, David Sparks, Jeremy Satterfield, Jalen Kyle, Lance Hatcher, Clayton Hagan, and Kevon Donaldson. Jalen Ryle reached a plea agreement and was sentenced to 25 years in the Indiana Department of Corrections, followed by 2 years of community corrections program deemed appropriate. Lance Hatcher pleaded guilty to aggravated battery as part of a plea agreement. He was given a prison term of 5 years, but was awarded more than 3 years in jail credit toward the term. David Sparks pleaded guilty to battery resulting in serious injury. He was given a prison term of 6 years with 2 suspended on probation. Clayton Hagan, he would be sentenced to 4 years in the Indiana Department of Corrections, pleading guilty in battery resulting in serious bodily injury. To break down the timeline, 7/22, Cruz was transferred from COVID-19 quarantine to a general population cell housing approximately 29 inmates. Between 9 and 10:15 p.m., Cruz was subjected to prolonged and violent assault, as I stated before, where he was hogtied, had his head shoved in the toilet, bleach poured on him, stomping his head, where he tried to crawl away and was dragged, where the assault continued, where they kicked his genitalia over and over. At 10:15, third shift jail deputies found Cruz lying face down in the cell with blood under his head. It was then, at 10:15, the third shift jail deputies found the Chomo lying face down, blood under his head, unresponsive, and later pronounced dead. That's the way the universe works. This man here, who hurt over 4 different children, molesting them, torturing them, those kids were probably scared and begging and trying to crawl away themselves. Well, guess what? You entered the lion's den. You were crawling away, screaming for help. You felt that fear that those children felt, except they didn't understand what was going on. They were too innocent. You knew that you're paying for what you did to those children. In jail, prison, imagine an inmate gets the shit beat out of him for having child molestation charges. Then another Chomo comes in there and gets the shit beat out of him. They don't put him in protective custody. They put him in a unit that they nicknamed the Lion's Den. For over an hour and 15 minutes, he's hogtied, gagged, beaten. Every bone in his body, every organ is fucked up, kicked, put his head in a toilet with bleach and chemicals, jumping off top bunks, smashing his face. First officer that does his roundabout just didn't see it. Entered the cell at 7. He was murdered by 10:15, and he wasn't even taken to a hospital till 11:15. All because he wanted to touch kids. This is the reality. I don't promote the violence, but I will say this. Protect your children. Leave our kids alone. Stay out. Stay free. Us.